Hey everyone, welcome back. So, like I previously mentioned, this chapter is pretty much focusing on the same process as the previous, but just more focuses on the hand section of it. Although it's the same, I thought it would be nice to add it in because when I was a student, it was always nice to catch the techniques from the instructor just by observation. It's just easier to show than to explain, so hopefully you guys can catch certain actions that I do that may be unique. But in a nutshell though, if I were to recap this whole process once again, basically what I'm doing is cleaning up the sculpt by first tightening the Dynamesh with a brush like H Polish, Trim Dynamic, Dam Standard, basically any of the brush you see on the bottom, I feel may pretty much work for that certain situation. By tightening the area, it just makes it easier for me to understand the shape to retop it. And then next, I duplicate the subtool and mask a small section of the duplicate and give it a new poly group so I can delete the rest and start with a single polygon as a start for my retop. Then I use the Z Modeler brush and make sure the vertice selection is set to move and snap to surface. The edge selection set to extrude, and then the face selection set to polygroup. And once that setup is ready, I start extruding the edge and filling up the surface and moving the verts, right, and snapping on the surface. Now, I don't consider myself a pro when it comes to a proper polyflow, but basically I'm just following the form of the sculpt sketch and making sure that there's no things like n-gons or pinching areas with triangles on the edge section. So ZBrush doesn't allow n-gons in the first place, so that is pretty much easy to avoid, but it's just gonna leave an open hole if you have n-gons in ZBrush. Basically nothing 5 angles or more. Okay, and what I mean by avoiding those pinching areas on the edge with triangles is that whenever you have an angle transition and if there's a triangle like this, once you apply a smoothing group later on, it'll cause this pinching effect that really doesn't look nice. So try to keep those transitions quad if possible. And I say if possible because sometimes it's inevitable or I get lazy and I still end up making that same pinching mistake. But yeah, that's about it in terms of cleanup approach and pointers in this section. The rest, I like to go a bit off tangent and chat about how the entertainment industry has changed over the last, past few years and how I've been dealing with these changes. And to do that, I'm going to switch over to this character here because I don't want to really keep recording my face for this section, and I think it'll be a little more fun. So yeah, let's try that. And let's begin. So for me, I started seeing this change since the COVID recovery. Like how I mentioned in the previous chapter, this is when multiple company shutdowns and instability started happening. All the job I've been in were amazing and such great place and experience, and I love being in every part of it. But yeah, they all shut down within a year, back to back. So it just became this unstable industry over the years, and one important lesson I've learned is to not be married to the companies I work for, because in the end it's all about the money, right? And if the company is not making the money, they just simply choose the option to lay off or shut down. Crazy, but it's just like that. But here's an example that happened with me. I'm not gonna name any person or company, but I remember this company at the time was pretty much just boasting about how much they're making, and it gave us this like false sense of security. Now, again, I enjoyed being here with the friendly coworkers I had and the occasional beer outings we had, and the company pretty much provided me with anything and everything to help me with my artwork. Everyone here seemed pleased with my work, and my director, who I respect a lot, seemed to love my work as well. And yeah, yeah, this made me happy to be here, right? And I definitely got attached to the company. But the cracks started to show on one holiday company event. I went to my director that day and talked about how much I enjoyed being at the company and how great this place is, but it was kind of weird. He seemed a bit distant from me, and it just felt very unusual. He was usually this friendly guy and always smiling, but on that holiday party, something was just off. And once we were back from the holiday break, I realized the reason for it. It was because we were hit with a massive layoff, which I was involved in. And yeah, that was crushing with this, false sense of security I got, comboed with my attachment towards the company and great coworkers being pretty much washed away just like that. And shortly after the layoff, the entire company shut down. Now, I was able to land another gig not too long after the layoff, but this time I went in with a bit more of a skepticism and a bit more with a defense. So during the interview, I had this similar feeling where this company talked about how much money they were making, and they had thanks to this investor, and the company will be secure for the years to come. And I was very doubtful listening to this part, right? But yeah, this is where something I wasn't expecting at all happened. 1 week into the company, just 1 week. 1 week after I was hired, the sponsor decided to cut ties and entire funding to the project. And this led to a massive company layoff. Thankfully, I wasn't affected by it. That would be pretty ridiculous, right? A week into the company and I get laid off. But yeah, the goal of the company from there on was to find another investor. But as you might have suspected, that never happened, and eventually led to a shutdown once again. I was actually surprised though, with no investor, the company still fought hard to continue creating the game and pay the employees for almost a year. But I saw the struggles though with our directors and what they were going through, and on top of that, seeing my coworkers either leave the studio or kind of the morale's kind of going down. As much as I was feeling the same way, I felt the company was making that effort to survive, and everyone left in the company still hoped we'd see that light through that tunnel. But again, in the end, the battle was lost. But unlike how cutthroat it felt like from the previous company, I really respect the way this company handled the situation. So after the shutdown, I was searching for a place once again. But this time it took much longer. Usually a friend or a recruiter would message me and that would pretty much help ease into the interviews. But things stayed silent this time. With no job that time, I had to turn to freelance and search for anything art related project out there to pretty much keep paying the bills, right? Eventually, I landed another full-time gig. It was a very nice place actually. Had great amenities, being next to pretty much this nice mall. Had this private gym with a shower, which I remember using daily. But at this time, I was pretty jaded with the industry because once again, when I first started during the interview, the company talked about how rich they are and saying stuff like the director of this company is the next Hideo Kojima. I'm just like smiling and nodding my head thinking, please just don't shut down again. And guess what? Not even 3 months into the company, they decided to shut down. At this point, it was more like a joke to me. So while everyone was like mourning and sad because of the news of the layoff, I felt pretty neutral. I was like, if the company's going to shut down, can I just take all those company merches? And at the goodbye dinner, since the company was paying for it, I got myself a tower beer. Two of them. I remember the day I was hired here was when the game they just created launched, and on that first day, I remember hearing like snippets of news from coworkers like, we're not getting great reviews from players, or we're not able to retain the customers to stay and play the game longer. And I started getting this familiar gut-wrenching feeling again. Now, don't get me wrong, I still enjoyed my 3 months there. I still gave my 120% effort to the company, and yeah, I created some really great artworks there. But 3 months was just not enough to do much work and, to prove myself, right? So yeah, I'm just back to job hunt again and trying to live off freelance once again. One stupid mistake, or I should say the brilliant plan I made, was after the company shut down and we got our severance check, instead of saving it and supporting myself on weeks and months of no income, I decided, screw it. I'm just gonna spend it all on this nice coffee setup. I don't have kids, so this is gonna be my baby and my 2 dogsies. So yeah, that definitely messed me up financially, but on the other hand, I can proudly say that I make the best coffee in town. Latte, cappuccino, espresso tonic, cortado, you name it. I can make anything now. I've been hooked on trying to make the best coffee every day for over a year now. So yeah, no need to go out to a cafe to spend $10 on a cup of coffee anymore. Although I am still bleeding money buying coffee beans and other coffee related equipments. So yeah, that has been a fun journey during my off time, potentially looking into another path outside of concept art that can shine light on me. I even tried applying to Starbucks once just because, well, I needed the money, but I also wanted to learn the inside of coffee business. But they saw my resume and clearly saw that I'm not gonna stay there for long, so yeah, they kicked me out. But honestly though, having this different focus gave me a healthy perspective on life. I'm always fighting this thought that I need to constantly push myself to get better with art, right? And that can sometimes drain the passion out of me. Having this new passion keeps my thoughts away from the stress and keep living, potentially leading me to a new direction. Although I am still fighting this thought, if I keep going with the coffee and make it into a career, wouldn't it just be like art and drain the passion out? Also, do I really want to let go of art for coffee? I still love doing anything art related, and it's supported me all throughout my life. Sure, who knows when I will ever get a stable art job, but there's still jobs out there. So as of now, I'm still keeping it art first and coffee as passion, but who knows, things may change in the near future. But while I was experimenting in the coffee world, I have been searching for new art jobs also. One of the main ways I find these jobs is through LinkedIn. Now, I have a love-hate relationship with LinkedIn. Although I'm grateful I get my gigs through there, 99% of the time I won't get any replies or only hear rejections. The most successful ones are the ones when a friend or a recruiter reaches out to you, but like I said, that's been less and less as more layoffs and shutdowns are constantly happening. As a matter of fact, I don't think I never had success applying directly through job posting. It's like talking to a wall every day, applying through it, and it kind of makes you it makes me feel like insane doing so. On a very rare occasion, I do hear back from recruiter once or twice, but from there, never really successfully landed a gig just from applying, which makes me wonder, has anyone ever had success from applying directly through LinkedIn? How many of those postings are ghost jobs? I still do keep my eyes open and apply to one of those jobs that fits my position or interest and hope someone might see it. But at the same time, I expect nothing from it. I try not to read the posts on LinkedIn because I feel like it's either people just bragging about how much they love their life or their work, or just tormented souls desperate for anything out there, or scammers. I guess that's how it is with any social media, but LinkedIn is important for people like us because that's pretty much the main way of finding jobs. Anyways, the video is reaching the end soon, so I'm gonna wrap it up. I hope I gave you guys a bit of an insight on the changing industry and how I am coping with it. For people who are in that similar situation, I feel for you. It's a brutal time for artists right now, and I don't want to give that false hope by saying stuff like keep fighting and you'll reach the light through the tunnel soon. But I do feel we have the power to shift that focus towards positivity, like how I'm kind of seeing the world with coffee. And with that energy, I hope more positivity can follow and bring greater joy. For people who are just here to watch the video to learn, I hope you guys got something out of it. I know it's just me mostly just yapping about my life, but the next video will be mostly tutorial focused, so I promise on that. Again, since this video series is like my journal and I'm going experimental with this, I may or may not do this like cartoony style video again, depending on how I feel. The drawing is crappy, but it's still a lot of work drawing a bunch of these mini-me's, and on top of that, do my current video tutorial. I really respect those YouTube animation videos like Jaden Animations or Viara, and not gonna lie, I was highly inspired to do something similar too. But yeah, it's a quite a work. So we'll see. And yeah, with that being said, that's a wrap. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Bye.